I'm going to introduce our speaker for this morning. Our speaker is Crystal C. Owens Gale. I know her as Daywolf, and I like that name. And she has worked as a human service worker in Washington, D.C. and Maryland. Crystal Owens Gale recognizes the need to integrate the holistic services for children, youth, and families. She identified the need for the culturally appropriate person, family-centered, and spiritual-based approach. Dr. Owens is certified parent and marriage trainer and licensed practitioner, holds a doctorate in pastoral counseling and psychology. Dr. Owens teaches graduate courses in counseling and psychology at Bowie State University and Goddard College. She integrated naturopathic and personal training approach in her life and work. After completing mediation certification training, Dr. Owens offers conflict resolutions and mediation programming to schools and the community in the Washington metropolitan area. Dr. Owen Gale, founder of the Empowerment Center, and I hope people went over there yesterday, a 501c3 nonprofit organization to help the community to empower themselves and discover both personal and family communal resources to live, learn, and grow. The Empowerment Center is today working in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Pittsburgh to help individuals to recognize and maximize their social capital and strengthen total well-being to improve interpersonal relationships and alliances with others. During their first Sundays, Empowerment Center offers a meaningful Sunday morning empowerment meeting, a non-religious, non-sectarian, for the individual of all faith traditions that is therapeutic, humanistic, and holistic. Dr. Owens Gale is married to Stefan Gale, an IT manager for Fairfax County Public Schools in Fairfax, Virginia. I present to you, Daywolf.
Greetings, everyone. I'm going to use a chair if you don't mind. How's everyone?
Great.
How are you? Great. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. What is today?
Sunday.
Sunday. Sunday, what's it? April the 20th?
Yes.
Easter Day. I like that. So what goes on a Easter Day?
Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt. Okay, Easter egg hunt. That's interesting.
The Easter Bunny comes out, I don't know.
The Easter Bunny comes out.
The church people dress up.
Yeah, church people dress up. Okay.
Sunday outfits, their Easter outfits.
Okay. Yeah.
Families get together.
Families get together. So tell me about your earliest memories of Easter.
You get up in the morning, you get dressed, go to sunrise service, and then you come home and go for the Easter egg hunt.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
I remember eating a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
The family get together, eating
you're
a lot
right.
of food.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
family
eating a lot.
dinners. Yeah.
And watching the movies, the Jesus movies on TV.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Really, they were on the whole week.
They run the whole week. I remember the Moses story. I don't know why.
Yes.
They're still running now.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Yes.
they're still
Okay.
running now.
And the palms.
Right.
Yeah, Palm Sunday is the Sunday before Easter.
Uh-huh.
I remember Easter Monday, you dye your eggs.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
You know,
Oh, that's
Easter
what Easter.
egg hunt. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Fill your basket with all the sweet stuff.
Right.
Chocolate bunny
stuff.
sitting in the middle.
Jelly beans.
Oh my.
Oh, wow.
A lot of symbolism. What else do you remember about Easter?
For me, it was the dressing, because every year when I was little for a long time, I used to wear a white suit with a blue shirt.
I can see the white suit
Right.
right now on you with a little boy about this big.
Patent leather shoes. I used to look forward to it every year.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would get our hair fried and curled. And
Yes, hair done on Saturday, getting ready for Sunday.
We
Yeah.
got new clothes?
Yes, new
Yeah.
clothes.
The
New
Easter
clothes.
And everybody got new clothes. The whole house got new clothes if they could afford it.
Yes, yes.
And that was maybe the one time that the boys would wear a suit.
Mm-hmm,
The rest of the year they didn't,
right,
unless it was a special
a
occasion.
special occasion.
The resurrection of Jesus,
Mm-hmm,
rolling away the stone
Mhm.
on the tomb.
right. This weekend from Palm Sunday to Easter is just packed, or really Easter Monday is packed. How do we get Easter Monday? Where did Easter Monday come from?
She said we dyed the eggs.
Dyed the eggs, Sunday
On
night
Sunday
in
night?
preparation for Easter Monday, when you had the egg hunt
Okay,
and your baskets,
okay,
and you took your baskets and you went somewhere out for a
Yeah.
walk or a picnic,
okay,
and like I said, egg hunt.
yes, yes. It's interesting, it's different traditions. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we dyed our eggs on Saturday or Friday. Most likely on Saturday during the day. And so we had what you're talking about, the chocolate bunny. And how did the bunny turn into a chocolate form? Who knows? And then we just got ready. My mother started a tradition, just as early as I can remember, we always got new clothes for Palm Sunday and also for Easter Sunday. And we started probably that Saturday before Palm Sunday and got the dress or the suit for my brothers. I have 3 brothers. And all that stuff for this week of triumph. And it's just interesting how all these symbolisms, all of these celebrations come into being. And what I would say for us is today is to have no judgment. It is what it is. And the highest form of human consciousness is to have no judgment. And celebrate it and let it be. Celebrate the past, the present, and also working toward the future in our present day reality. And let it be. And that's the highest potential of human consciousness. And the Jesus story, or Yeshua, or whatever you want to call him in terms of the Christ. Whatever reality you come from, he represented the highest human potential that
That's right.
we can perform in our mind. And that is the real Christ story.
Yes.
That is the real Christ. And you know, as you know, this is not the first story, but many stories. So the Easter celebration really is about high science. It really is. It's about you. All these symbolisms, you have folks saying, okay, it's a pagan Easter type story, and Esther is a goddess, but okay, that's fine. That's good. That's really good, because we all come from different avenues of understanding what we have now. Just like
Right.
Christianity came from a Kemetic story, a Kemetic mythology, religion, spiritual science. And that's all it is. And when we come to that understanding that there was a beginning before what I think is my beginning, and draw from that, it makes you really understand what life is really all about. And seeing your story within the story. So the death, resurrection of Christ, crucifixion, death, resurrection of the Christ is your death and your resurrection. Could be a death and resurrection of alcoholism, or it could be some other addiction. But you, in life, sometimes we choose to get put on the cross, or other people, most likely people who look like us, put us on the cross. We die on that cross, but the triumph is that we rise again. Aren't we a mighty people?
Yes, we are.
Isn't it grand to see that this is not all of us? It's an amazing, amazing story. The story about Esther, the goddess, and some have kind of twisted that story, and they represent that story by having an Easter egg hunt. The Easter egg hunt is really a hunt for the female, and the person that gets that female the first can have unlimited sex with that woman.
Wow.
That's the real story. And so we clean it up and we put eggs and it represented a female. Of course, the female, you are a fertility symbol.
Yes.
You are that. And so with that in mind is understanding you have regeneration, fertility. Where do we get this rabbit from? Have you heard the yes?
That's fertility too, though.
Yes, yes. Very much so
They used
fertility.
to say something about if the rabbit died, that was some kind of a symbol of
Whether you were pregnant or
You're
not.
pregnant or not. Yes, yes. I don't know how that got in there in terms of, but I was told that that's how they tested out. You get death to symbolize life. And it was a real way of testing for pregnancy. That's what I'm told. Poor rabbit. Remember the rabbit on the foot on the keychain, symbolizing good luck?
Yes.
Rabbit's foot.
The rabbit's foot, all colors, all types of colors, pink, yellow, but not yours.
Rabbit.
Now, if the rabbit was full of luck, he had what, 4 feet?
Yeah.
now. You got one.
Four
He
nubs.
got one.
Four nubs.
One for you.
Four nubs.
4 nubs.
But it's all
Lot of symbolism. Lot of symbolism. So it is clearly something that we have to materialize in our lives in terms of these hidden meanings. And what these lessons are is that we have to find the fertility in us. Not just women, but men as well. And it's about the balance. And I'm not talking about metrosexual. I'm talking about being a balanced person, having your male potential and your female potential in balance. And that's real human transformation. So as we stand on this earth, we have to get connected to it. We are on a magnificent spaceship that's alive, that's evolving. Imagine if we could really feel the speed of the earth moving around the sun. We wouldn't be here. But we're cocooned in an atmosphere that allows us to stay grounded. and safe for the most part. It's an amazing, amazing thing when you really look at things that are happening around in our earth.
Yes.
It's an amazing thing. And if you were watching or reading the news, somehow they found an Earth-like planet that has a smaller sun, but it has the most semblance of an Earth-like representation. They just found it this week that they're telling you. They probably knew about it a long, long, long time ago. So the story of Easter is the story about you. So as we go on to our next point, is that a memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. A memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. Think about.
Yeah, that's right.
Think about disappointments,
Yes.
loss of job,
Mm-hmm.
loss of things, physical things, loss of even your own freedom. And how at that point you were fired up, you were disappointed. Or it could have been something good, you were just still fired up. Just having fun, enjoy, and wisdom. But as you roll and replay that experience back, you think about the knowledge, the information, the things you gain from it, both good, bad, and indifferent. I can think about experiences I've had in life, and as I grow into it, I get less angry or less enraged for. I find myself just looking at it with an observation of objectivity. And that allows me to grow up and allows the little girl to see it in a fancy-free way and allows me, the grown-up person, to take it as an experience to my next experience of life. So let's hear about your transformation, your evolution in life. Let's hear about something that you have found either joyful or even something that you found that saddened you, that you can now look at it with your wisdom eye. Looking at it not just with your two eyes, but your third eye. Someone wants to share? Or someone's? Yes.
Well, I grew up, and I was never sure about my father.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how in the old days they swept everything under the rug. But somehow at a young age I realized that, ooh, this is a wonderful opportunity because now I have the chance to go out and create the kind of family that I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So just looking back, and I'm sure
As a little girl, I mean, it was, you felt kind of like shunned from people. They treated you a little different, you know, like a Cinderella kind of thing.
right.
However, I saw that as an opportunity, because being left alone, you know, by myself, I just saw it as, oh, wow, I get to create my own family now.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Someone else? Sure.
Right. Couple of things for me, very, very similar, and both in line with what you're speaking on. First is the religion piece, Christianity. Being raised, indoctrinated with the religion of Christianity, I embraced it. And then at some point in time, I came across some information that caused me to say, hey, what they taught me isn't exactly accurate.
Right.
And so that kind of, enraged me,
Right.
pissed me off, So I went from the to the other end of the spectrum instead of embracing it and trying to share it and saying, hey, listen, this is what Jesus is all about, save yourself, confess with your mouth and believe with your heart, yada, 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 to look here, man, if you believe in that, you're gone. This is what's going down, right? So I went to the exact opposite end, challenging everything about it. But as you spoke on now, I'm at the point where I understand, first of all, where the story came from. So, okay, cool. And I understand why they did what they did with the story and the whole purpose behind it all.
Right.
And now that I understand it better, their intent behind it, I can separate myself from it and actually pick the good things about it that I went through it.
Right.
Yes.
And those things that do not resonate with me, but at the same time, so I can look at it objectively, and even though they have put a certain spin on it, I
Right.
still can relate those who really truly embrace it like I did,
Right.
and meet them where they are and shed some different kind of light on them and get them to see it just a little bit differently to help empower them even more so where they are, even though they do believe in Christianity.
Powerful. Just a powerful growth experience.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Both of you share some very important things about us and life. And as far as your early childhood memory, there's a scholar by the name of Dr. Gabor Mate, and he's a psychiatrist, and he talks about adverse early childhood experiences, and that these experiences loop in our minds over and over and over again until it manifests into sexual dysfunction, alcoholism, issues with dealing with our peers, just psychopaths, people that we read up in the newspaper. They shoot up a store and then kill themselves. Well, that started not because something happened last week or on their job. It started with their earliest experiences, oftentimes with relatives or people close to the family that have damaged them, either sexually, mentally, or kept them in a box, and not realizing that the world is beyond the dimensions that we hold it in.
Thank you.
And so it is not just them, it's us, and who have had an impact. And the elders in our culture had wisdom, and they kept the wisdom and used proverbs and sayings. It takes a village to raise a child. Meaning it takes healthy, confident, brilliant adults to get a healthy, brilliant child that grows up to be an adult. So it's important for us to understand that these stories that we loop over and over and over again, the Easter egg, the chocolate bunny, the girl running around with the dress, it's okay to have that. But we have to keep the children safe. And our biggest contribution to the world is keeping them safe. I didn't realize my father's job was to do what he did until I got an adult. Oh, he's mean, he's strict. Hey, he's a party pooper. But I didn't realize that Old Tex, which was his nickname, did his job in terms of making sure we ate, we were housed, clothed, and safe. And he did that very well, to the point where, I don't know about old Tex. His reputation was so that my parents had businesses with my grandparents. My grandmother was in her cleaners with a drawer full of money, and not once was she robbed. In the hood. And oftentimes she was there by herself, because we had another cleaners that we were running as well. Not once. One, because she had a reputation and connection with people, but I would say my father was a gunner. He was. He always had a gun on his person. And not to say he pulled it out and was intimidating people, but they knew not to mess with Mr. Owens.
That's right.
And his family. And that is his role, and that's the role of a man in a family, is to protect.
That's right.
So, back to childhood memories, I remember that. And now I look at it with no judgment and observe his behavior. He had to do what he needed to do.
Exactly.
And he did his job very well. I never seen my dad drunk, high, chasing women. I never seen my father, so he did his job. He had limitations, yes, but he did his job. Now back to a chef. I grew up in the church, and I knew by the time I was 8 years old I was going into ministry. Didn't know how quite, was trying to figure it out because I went to Catholic school, and I said, I wanted to be a priest, but I couldn't be a priest, and I definitely didn't want to be a nun. So I ended up, I'm thinking I ended up joining my family church, but I knew in my head what I needed to do. And then one day I had the opportunity to share, because the minister asked me, well, what did I wanted to do when I grew up? Well, I'm like, not grow up, like what I'm going to do now. I told him, well, first thing I told him, I wanted to be a model. But I knew by the time I was about 10 or 11, I was too short to be a model. But I said, I also have this other thing that I have in mind, I want to be a minister. And he said, really? I'm like, yep, I want to be a minister. Now, mind you, this is incubated for about 2-3 years. By the time I was like 11, 12 years old, it was clear. I knew what I wanted to do. So he said, okay, I'm going to challenge you, see how serious you are. So I got put on the trustee board as a junior trustee. I ended up attending seminary, because he had a seminary school twice a week. So that meant that I couldn't run track, because I either had to make a choice of that or running track. So I made choices in my early life. And those choices are presented to you as opportunities for growth. And it's the same thing for you even this day. It is never too late. When I went to school, and I ended up going to undergraduate school, I found a lady who was 77 years old, an undergrad, and getting ready to graduate. She didn't see her life as over. She saw her life making a turn for her improvement and for whatever she wanted to do. It's not over. I hear people 44, 45, 35. Oh, it's over for me. I'm too old to do that. I just might as well give up. Let that die on the cross, a good death, and resurrect to a new life. Whatever your dreams, your potentials, your realities, you grab onto that and don't allow anyone to turn you around. So Christianity, for me, was an evolving process. I didn't really take much of it literally, but then when I start edging to the truth and getting more of the metaphysical understanding, Jesus going to India, and I challenged the minister, oh, he never went to India. That never happened. I'm thinking, if he was 12 years old and he was able to talk with the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the scribes, and have high intellectual potential, clearly he had to travel beyond that square mileage that they said
Right.
he stayed in.
Mm-hmm.
And he lived in Egypt. He saw what? Pyramids?
Yep.
The Sphinx? Come on. It was beyond just what we limited him to be. So, your journey, and I'm sure like you and me sitting here, are similar to others here and our journey. It may have been sooner or later, but it is the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, the literalism didn't start until about, I would say, maybe happened around the Nicene Council time, but really 300 years ago. Because that's when science really started taking its headway and saying, hey, you know, the world isn't as flat as we're saying it is, and there's things happening in the world, and so they had to use what? Religion to keep the average person down.
That's right.
So that
That's right.
became the opiate of the people, is using religion to keep your mind on lockdown. So when you walk into the church, you stop thinking.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Instead of seeing, okay, Noah on this boat and all this stuff, take it literally, and literally you had people looking for this boat.
Yes.
They've been on expeditions, spent millions of dollars looking for this boat.
They said they discovered it.
Trying to rebuild it.
And they can't find the airplane.
There was some people, something that's like buried under the dirt or something. They said they found a piece of it.
A piece of it. It's an ancient boat, but it's not Noah's boat. Think about it. These stories, like that of the Jesus story, is told in many cultures all over the world. And it's really about us and the collection of things and attributes of a tiger or a lion or a bird being us, being manifested in our behavior and how we see the world. So I see the world with a tiger's eye and having the eye of a tiger. Or I see the world with the eye of an eagle, looking down at the world, and not just seeing the world through the forest and being blocked.
Or a wolf.
Or a wolf. So these symbols are about us. High technology. And we have unlimited potential in our own mind. And it's not just about metaphysics. It's not just about that. You know, we can go beyond that. Beyond the physical, that's meta, physical. Then we have metacognition, beyond the mind. And you know that there has been talk from late psychologists saying, okay, we have what is collective conscious. Ancient folk been knowing that a long time ago. You have folk who are the Dogon, who are able to tell you about a star you can't even, really see. But they knew about it. So that meant that they had high technology without a telescope. And seeing the pattern of the Great Pyramid being representative of the constellation in the sky. As above, so below. Genius, thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So what is within is without. The way in is the way out. We're looking for answers, so we drink ourselves away with alcohol and smoke reefer, and we smoke cigarettes or cigar. We eat ourselves trying to solve our stress or solutions. But the solution is in you. We have to tap into that. Not seeing religion as our enemy, but religion is just a path, like other paths. And with that, and I don't have to fight who's right.
That's right.
If you have a prophet of Muhammad or another pathway, I don't have to fight. Let's see how we live amongst each other. We don't have to kill each other for that.
That's right.
It's just like even within the culture and the conscious community. We have folk, well, I don't ascribe to Hebrew Israelite, and I don't ascribe. There's enough food on the table for everybody.
That's right.
And what fits for me may not fit for you, but there's enough here. So the key is meditation. And having that collective consciousness alive and well in you. Starts with you. Oh, those kids in that community is off the chain. In the hood, I'm getting out of there. Too much violence. But it starts with us. They've done studies during the time that Isaac Forward was the chief of police. They had about 100 yogis come here on the mall to meditate for a week. And during that week, what happened? Crime rate went down. But the lesson was that we had to do it too and hold that space and continue it.
Yeah.
So it's not just our words, it has to be our actions and how we have to inculcate this technology in us. We can move mountains in our lives through our words, through our meditation, through our thoughts. Think about it. They did studies that just shows that our words and our consciousness has an effect on people or on things. Just holding a thought on one person, not even in the same room, not even in the same city, sometimes not even the same continent. And you have an energetic effect on that person. So if we hold space of positivity about our young people, about our spouse, about people we work with, it changes the dynamics. And you can do that.
Yeah.
So the way in is the way out of these issues of depression, of sickness, of lack, of poverty consciousness. It is through your thoughts. What I'll do now is just open it up for your thoughts and your contributions. Or questions. Precious.
Just a comment. We're reading a book in my class called As a Man Thinketh. And one of the things that you mentioned was that you considered wisdom when you get to the place of not passing judgment.
Yeah.
It indicates it as the God consciousness kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you call it wisdom, it calls it God consciousness.
Yeah.
So I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of
Mm-hmm.
a good comparison, relation, you know.
Right, right. Yes, that's a powerful thing. I think about it, how many times people have been in situations. I'll give you an example. My mother still is a very, very beautiful woman. She's 80 years old and she looks 65, maybe late 60s. So she's beautiful. But when she was younger, she was drop dead gorgeous. And so she had haters. And it used to hurt her. I mean, it would just, I don't know why people hate me. Her earliest memory as a child is people just pulling at her hair. She had fire, and still has fire red hair. Hazel eyes, and she's light skinned, lighter than you. They hated her. And I remember when she was probably about 25 years old, because my mother had children later in life. So she was an old head having children in her 30s back in the day. And her sisters, a little couple years older, have children almost old enough to be my parents. You know, 15, 16, 20 years older than me. And so she went into a club and her sister was with some other ladies sitting at the lounge all around, and one sister said, "I hate that bitch," with venom and hatred. And my sister turned around, and you know, because she's my color, my aunt, my sister said, "Well, that bitch is my sister."
Ooh.
And she went, "Oh, I didn't know you were related." And so that is a dynamic we have in our society where we use colorism as a way to separate. We use classism as a way to separate. We use access to so-called white man job to say I'm better than you, and I got my good government job or my whatever job, and I make 6 figures, and I'm better than you because you don't have a job. Those are the things that really part the ways and put us against each other.
That's right.
And so what you're talking about is how we have to rise ourselves up to see that we're in the same boat. When they all look at us, it's just us, as Francis Wilson says. So whoever is the darkest dark and the lightest light, we all in the same boat, and let's get along.
Amen.
We got work to do. So we have people stratified. So you have people in my mother's head trying to make up that I'm black. That's what she had to do because she could have passed. And then you have other people who are the darkest dark, sacrificing their lives because they're black folk and white folk saying she's too black. I have a sister not too long ago killed herself because of how we have hatred of melanin. That's what it is. And it's not you, it's white folk putting that in your brain.
That's right.
The way in is the way out. If you have any melanin content, you have a superior content. You have what it is to deal with sicknesses.
That's right.
You have what it is to deal with obstacles in your mind. You have a better meditation process because you have melanin.
That's right. That's right, sister.
Don't dissipate it. Allow it to set you free.
That's right.
Speak.
Studies have shown that anybody that uses things like meth, cocaine, heroin, and you have a high melanin content, you have a further hold. It is the content of that addiction is virile as opposed to someone who's of a lighter hue or white.
Wow.
That's why you see a lot of dark-skinned folk having themselves held bound by addictions because of the choices they put into their bodies, not knowing that melanin has a lot to do with it. So, you know that the way in is the way out. You have an ability to deal with stress and depression through your actions, through your meditation, through what now the big boys and girls are saying, neuroplasticity. Well, my grandmother knew whatever I put in my brain, I know that I can do.
Right.
That's basically what neuroplasticity is. That if you believe it, you will receive it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And they have shown that, yes, the brain changes based on what you say and do.
That's right.
And when you put the two together, saying and doing,
That's right.
let's manifest.
That's right. What do you?
Addictions, our thoughts, our experiences can be transformed for what? The renewing of your mind. You can do this, not somebody else. Somebody can be a vehicle for you. That's why Reiki and reflexology and
Heart touch
heart
therapy.
touch therapy is an amazing way to help people to lift depression, to lift things that keep people dormant. Can you imagine if all of us allowed ourselves to the height of our potential? We literally would be walking in space. And we did that before.
That's right.
Yes.
The pyramids and all the artifacts that are all over the world, they're not just in Egypt.
Right.
And more in Ethiopia and Nubia and Sudan than in Egypt. But they're all over the world, in Mexico and China. They're all over because you
Chicago.
were all over in the world.
Mars.
And they're just manifestations of your human potentiality. That's all they were. And it's a reminder as place markers to understand we got to go back. And we could do it again. And it's not just to have this grandeur, but it is to have the grandeur within. That when I touch you, you're healed.
That's right.
And that's not just Jesus content. That's Doretha content. That's Precious content. That's a Shep content. That is something that you can do. Didn't the Bible say, unless you're saying that Jesus is a liar, that the things I do, you do greater?
Yes.
Right?
Right. That's right.
So let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Where's my purse? I want to throw it.
Let's do it. Allow your existence to be the highest human potential in life. And my greatness doesn't dissipate your greatness. We all can shine.
That's
You
right.
think that in space, and I'm sure they are communicating the stars saying, you can't twinkle more than I do. And there's a battle here because you're brighter, you're prettier. No. We all can have this code. There's a girl code that's out now, and I use it in my rights group. That pretty girls don't hate. Pretty girls are just that. Pretty in action, pretty in thought, and pretty in who we are, in our very being. And so that is replicated in you and how you exist and move and have your being. There have been yogis that manifested so much. There's one yogi, and I can't remember his name, it's blanking on me, that was caged in a cell. But because he didn't wear a dress, they locked him up. So he's locked up, and every morning they found him outside of the cell and put him back in there. And the next morning they found him outside of the cell. Now this is not spooky stuff. This happened less than 100 years ago.
Right.
Outside of the cell, to the point where they left the cell door open because they knew something fantastic happened with him, to the point where he manifested and came outside of the cell. How he did it in terms of doing the Star Trek thing, who knows? But it happened.
Right.
Same way in terms of people meditating to the point where they're not even touched and by cold. They're able to be in a climate that most people need a coat on, gloves, and around them is a puddle of water. Because the meditation is so deep, they can raise what they call thermogenesis to the height where there's not snow or ice around them, it's water. But the temperature's cold, but they have it within them to do that. We can do that. And it's not just for these feet, but we can do that on a day-to-day basis. And the choices we make and the food we eat, the way we think about ourselves, our ability to rise to the potential of human evolution. That is what we have. What we experience in society all over the world, anybody, whether it's Dravidians or anybody that looks Africoid like us, there's a reason for it, and it's called back to what I said, melanin. You have something that is a treasure trove. Don't deaden it. Don't kill it. Allow it to manifest. You have the potential to evolve beyond limits. This is why we are here. And this is what we are tested to manifest. The test is going to be every day. But in our mind's eye, we are able to see not just with the two eyes, but our third eye. And look in both worlds and stand. We got to teach this to our children, meditation, to the adults as well. And that is our powerhouse. So I say to you, you have a wonderful, wonderful space here.
We.
Yes, we. And it's being duplicated throughout the world. People are manifesting these potentialities in different spaces, places, and times. And just don't let white folk to do it. They're taking over these wisdoms of Africans, of of Indian, of Native American, and they spin it and sell it because they can make money.
That's right.
But you take it for your development. Any other questions, thoughts? Well, I thank you.
Thank you.
All right.